Good afternoon, folks. Welcome back to the Food for the Faithful channel with me, Bill Reimer. Today, your not so reluctant prophet. I have a short one for you. And here it is. Dear readers and listeners, I have become almost desperate in an attempt to help people understand that what we are facing is not merely a political battle. Rather, it is a struggle for the integrity and survival of the very foundations of Western society. Rebellion to restore peace, order, and good government isn't revolution. Rather, it would be restitution. We aren't living in a democracy, however. Rather, we're living in a kleptocracy led by kakistocrats. In other words, leadership by the most inept and unqualified. Since I never make assertions without defending my argument with evidence, I have drafting the following in the hopes that it might help you to better understand how Carney and his ilk, the identical species of financial market manipulators and financiers to be found in the Epstein files, have sunk to almost unbelievable depths of depravity. These kleptocrats are using the Neo-Marxist rhetoric of critical race, gender, and climate catastrophizing theory to defend and hide their profiteering, unscrupulous investing, and predatory lending. Of all the social collectivist ideologies, Marxism has proven to be the most persistent due to its ability to reinvent itself in new ideological forms. The reason for this is due to the essential problem with its core premise, that everything is a material struggle for power and domination. In 1930s Germany, the fathers of critical theory emerged as a reaction to the failure of Marxism. Added to them, we must include the French postmodernists, who had their part to play in creating a denial of a grand narrative, thereby introducing cultural relativism. It is cultural relativism which has led to the mass immigration from nations who do not share our cultural and religious values. The merging of critical theory with postmodernism has been manifested today as what could best be described as woke Marxism. Nevertheless, the DNA of dialectical materialism still comprises its core component, that we live in a purely material world in a constant battle for limited resources, despite the fact that all the warnings regarding such limits have proven to provide the fear-mongering needed for them to make us willing to give up yet more of our freedoms to a centrally controlled society run by these ideological elite. And I have a little quote. You're going to love it. A quote by me, made by me, quoted by me, from me, my favorite guy. If you understand what they are doing, you will stand alone, since few wish to conceive of evil made manifest. This is a problem today. The devil's greatest trick is that he's convinced, not that he convinced people that God doesn't exist, but that he's convinced people that he doesn't exist. And therefore we have no way to conceive of evil. But I am a man who have seen evil up close. So here's my little article. Mark Carney's Values, a banker's cover for critical theory overreach. Mark Carney's 2021 book Values, Building a Better World for All, isn't a Marxist manifesto. It's smarter than that. It doesn't cite Adorno, Marcuse, or Gramsci. It doesn't wave a red flag. Instead, it whispers the same ideas in boardroom English. Ideas that markets aren't neutral, that they're rigged by hidden power. Inequality isn't just unfair. It's portrayed as a self-reinforcing and corrosive. A betrayal of social fabric due to free market capitalism. Climate change isn't policy. It's the ultimate betrayal of the intergenerational equity, an existential sin that demands we revalue everything from carbon to community. Diversity? Not charity, but resilience. A more diverse system is more resilient, he writes. Tying gender gaps, racial disparities, and unpaid labor into a single fairness fix. Every single idea are echoes of the writings of the renowned critical theorists from the past dressed up in boardroom language. Obviously, this isn't new. Carney's book is critical theory applied to what he labels as the elite power embedded in systems, where false consciousness is sold as price, norms, Mark Carney says, that need to be dismantled for the greater good. Whenever you ever hear anybody say they're doing something for the greater good, you know that they're in it for themselves. Carney calls it stakeholder capitalism, but the bones are pure Frankfurt School. Critique the market that commodifies people, then replace it with values enforced top down. ESG investing, carbon pricing, solidarity as policy. They're all tools used to override profit, not debated. He doesn't say hegemony. Rather, he says externalities. Same effect. Elite control, dressed up as ethics. And then came the Freedom Convoy, proof in action. In February of 2022, Carney wrote a Globe and Mail op-ed framing the Ottawa protest as sedition, an insurrection funded by foreign donors who should be thoroughly punished. No violence, no guns, just honking, flags, and frustration over mandates. I know, I was there almost every day. I've never met a friendlier or happier bunch of people. Yet he pushed follow the money, choke off funding, treat dissent as anarchy. A week later, Trudeau invoked the Emergency Act, froze 76 bank accounts, seized $3.2 million in donations. No court orders, no trials. Courts later ruled it illegal, unreasonable, ultra vires, charter violating. The Federal Court of Appeal upheld that in January 2026. There was no justification. There was no threat. Although Carney wasn't PM then, he was advising Trudeau, commenting, cheering him on. No smoking guns proves he ordered the freezes, but his sedition rhetoric greased the wheels. He didn't need to. He just echoed the critical theory reflex. Label opposition pathological, starve it, call it an attack on public order. The convoy wasn't seditious. Rather, it was pure Canadian. But Carney treated it as a counter-revolutionary noise. That's not economics. That's control. Today, as PM, he pivots to tariffs, jobs, defense, pragmatics, sure, appearing that way, but the playbook stays. Emergencies justify bending rules. Values justify bending freedom. Values is sold us as a moral upgrade, but what we got is a banker who sees dissent as a bug, not a feature, and the law is optional when the officially sanctioned narrative is at stake. These are all facts. Under the Liberal Party of Canada, the Canadian government has pursued a radical agenda while hiding its ideological origins. The result is a deeply fractured nation with a failing economy. Yet these are merely symptoms of a much deeper spiritual rot that reflects a society which on the one hand has become godless, while on the other, due to mass immigration, sees Islam fast replacing the Christian foundations of our beleaguered nation. If that doesn't concern you, then you're a fool. And I'm becoming more and more willing to assume that that applies to more of you than I would care to, well, I'm just encountering the silliest answers to what I'm posting. Yes, it is. No, no, it isn't is not an argument. I can provide verified proof of what I'm saying. So should you. God bless you. These are things to think and pray about if you believe in prayer. And if you don't, try praying. You might find that the God you fear that doesn't exist, or the God you insist doesn't exist, is in fact very real and will not be mocked.